Good morning. It is Friday, May the 31st, and this is The Drill. And thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States of America today. Well, this one of two. Myself and President Donald J. Trump are the only two conservatives true conservatives in the United States of America today, because we're the only ones that make the presumption for the status quo. So my full name is Ronald T. Hardgrove, and my podcast is about the difference between being a true conservative and being a reactionary. It's about what true conservatism is, and why it matters. My email address is storytimes@hotmail.com. You're not a Trump supporter, are you? You're not a conservative, are you? So you believe that anyone who questions President Obama's nationality isn't racist. How you deal with these questions and questions like them determines whether you are truly a conservative. What is a true conservative? I'll give you an example. The left is always creating movements towards socialist paradise. A reactionary is defiant of those movements and creating counter movements. A true conservative is unmoved and refuses to be moved unless there's a good reason to do so. Being truly conservative is also about integrity. Maintaining your integrity is about listening carefully, reading carefully. It's about not getting tricked, about responding and not reacting. Integrity is also about how you live, not just how you vote. True conservatism is not merely a political identity, but a philosophical reality. True conservatism is fundamentally about being realistic, and being realistic is fundamentally about making the presumption for the status quo, also making the presumption for the individual. Who are the true conservatives? They are the people that understand that conservatism is a lifestyle. They are patriotic people who use common sense. They trust their judgment, speak clearly and definitively, and are not afraid to say no. They are open-minded, asking why rather than why not. They are consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of their existence, unafraid to learn or correct their mistakes. They are normal Americans. And so that's the introduction to my podcast. And when I come back, I'm going to be reading a little bit and memorializing a fallen Air Force member when I come back. Thank you very much. Welcome back. And the memorial of the day is for Major William Bryan Downs from the United States Air Force, the 6th Special Operations Squadron. He was born January 30th, 1965, and was killed May 30th, 2005 in Operation Iraqi Freedom in an airplane accident. And he received the Bronze Star Medal with Valor, with V for Valor. And again, that is Major William B. Downs, who was killed in action May 30th, 2005. When I come back, I'm going to be reading the concept of the day. Thank you very much. Welcome back. And the concept of the day, again, it is modern humans that use concepts and abstractions. It is troglodytes, cave people that communicated by sitting around a campfire telling stories and or painting pictures. And today we, instead of painting pictures, we paint verbal pictures. Hung me out to dry. I was in over my head. Those are examples of painting verbal pictures, those kinds of things. So, and it's important to understand, appreciate concepts and abstractions. They're the superior way of communicating. Today's concept is determinism. Determinism is a theory that everything that happens in the universe, including every thought, feeling, and action of man, is necessitated by previous factors, so that nothing could ever have happened differently from the way it did, and everything in the future is already preset and inevitable. Every aspect of man's life and character on this view is merely a product of factors that are ultimately outside his control. Objectivism rejects this theory, and that's from Leonard Peikoff, The Philosophy of Objectivism Lecture Series, Lecture number 1. Dictatorship and determinism are reciprocally reinforcing corollaries. If one seeks to enslave men, one has to destroy their reliance on the validity of their own judgments and choices. If one believes that reason and volition are impotent, one has to accept the rule of force. And it's called Representation Without Authorization from the Ayn Rand lexicon. And that's where I'm getting the concepts, is from the Ayn Rand lexicon. That's today's concept, which is determinism. Now, the only problem I have with this is Leonard Peikoff's little entry where it says objectivism rejects this theory, which makes it sound as though determinism's validity is an open question. It's not. It is false. We all know it's false, and we know so by the evidence of our senses, by our daily life experiences. And Mr. Peikoff and others, if you want to consider yourself a true conservative, would do well to remember that. Make definitive statements. Don't qualify them. Objectivism doesn't think so, or in my opinion, or as far as I know. I get in the habit of doing that myself, because I was trained by the left, just like everyone else was, to believe that it was either more polite or somehow more democratic for me to say, well, in my opinion, kind of thing. And it's BS. You speak what you know, and if you're wrong, then you will find that out. And when you find out you're wrong, you correct your mistake. Just that simple. So, again, speak definitively. If something is wrong, say it's wrong. And but anyways, that concludes the concept of the day, and I'll be back with my monologue in a minute. One of the most important things to learn about the battle between socialism and the forces of good in the world is that socialism cannot win without the cooperation of everyone else. Whether you're a conservative, a libertarian, an objectivist, anti-socialists, they cannot win without the help of anti-socialists. That's all there is to it. And they get the help of anti-socialists each and every day, mostly from the pundits, the Rush Limbaughs of the world that aid and abet the left and promote the left. They do so, I believe, unwittingly. As a matter of fact, I'm going to not say I believe. They do so unwittingly. They don't know what they're doing or talking about, unfortunately. One of the easiest ways to see this is that the left their mission is to collectivize everything. It is to organize. Everyone has to agree about everything all the time. That's why they're leadership-oriented, not representation, but leadership, so that they can organize everybody. So one of the ways that they do that and the ways that they shape debate is through the manipulation of various words. And one of the words they love to use to manipulate people the most is we. You'll hear the question, what do we do about the homeless? What do we do about poverty? What do we? And the proper response to that is always something along the lines of, or let's just flat out say, proper response to that is, who is we? Do you have a mouse in your pocket? Okay, because the fact of the matter is we're all born as individuals. The Constitution does not delineate group rights. There's no white rights in the Constitution. There's no men's rights in the Constitution. There's no straight rights in the Constitution. There's only individual rights. The second thing that it is that conservatives look to conserve beyond the status quo is the individual and individualism, thinking and looking at things from the standpoint of the individual. Individualism is disorganized. Individualism recognizes that you and I are not going to agree all the time. We may not agree ever. We may only agree 50% of the time, whatever the case is. But that each of us has the right to determine the direction of our lives, to pursue life, liberty, and happiness as we see fit. So the first thing that to do when you're dealing with a we situation beyond asking this person if they have a mouse in their pocket is individualize whatever issue is they're talking about. What do we do about the homeless? Hey, how long have you been homeless? Okay, who's homeless in your life? Who do you know that's homeless? Who are you talking about when you say the homeless? That guy over there? What do we do about him? Well, we got to find out why he's homeless. Because again, each individual has their own reasons for being in the situations that they're in. They have, if you're homeless, you have your own reasons for why you got there, when you got there, how long you've been homeless, what your prospects are for getting off the street, etc. One individual may be drug addicted. Another one may have a psychoses of various sorts. So each individual has to be treated as an individual, and they have to be treated with dignity and respect, and so that's the way it has to go. Also, in the case of homelessness, it is always about the stranger, because it always seems to me that if you take care of your own, we don't have a problem. We as a society, there isn't a homeless problem if you take care of your own. If you take care of your mother, your brother, your family members, your extended family members, if you want to do something to help a homeless person, first thing to do is find out, are there any family members? Do you have any family members that are homeless or about to become homeless? Those are the people to get with. Okay? It's always for the left about strangers. That your charitable works don't seem to count unless you're doing something charitable for a stranger. It's not true. I know of a person in which the individual became homeless, yet one of that individual's family members would donate time. His family member was a nurse and lived in Texas and would go to the border to Brownsville to give free nursing care to complete strangers, but would do nothing, not one thing, not lift one finger to help her family member. That's wrong. So, the other thing that I want to talk about was listening to everybody over the past 24 hours. Robert Mueller had a press conference, and every pundit wants to talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. They want to analyze why. Why did he have a press conference? Who cares? The right spends way too much time talking about things the left wants to talk about. And it's long past time that the right quits doing that. Let's talk about other things other than what the left wants us to talk about. Robert Mueller's had a press conference. The only issue is, was he right to have a press conference? Sure. He has every right to have a press conference. Did he say anything in the press conference that struck me as being wrong, that it was contradictory to, say, his report? No. Okay, end of story. Time to move on to something else. Like, for instance, President Donald Trump initiated, I found this out yesterday, and I was stunned to find out that President Trump had slapped a 5% tariff on Mexican goods. My first thought is, wait a minute, I thought we had an agreement with Mexico and Canada, a new NAFTA kind of arrangement. What happened to that? Well, subsequent news reports indicate that President Trump is doing this as a way of getting the Mexican government to stop the flood of illegal immigrants traversing their country to come into the United States. Apparently, President Trump's plan is to raise the tariff to 5% this month and 5% per month for the next 4 months, so that you'll be a total of 25%, and then keep it at 25% until such time as Mexico satisfactorily stops illegal immigration through its country from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, etc., from Central American states. And that's excellent. That's a damn good thing for President Trump to do. Absolutely outstanding. Now, it would have been better if he'd gotten the border wall and gotten that funded last year when we had a Republican-controlled Congress, but he failed, and he knows it. He knew it at the time. He was in negotiations, and he was threatening to shut down the government, but the Republicans talked him out of it. And again, another reason to believe it's not the Democrats that are the problem in this country. It's the Republicans. But anyhow, he should have done it then. He didn't get it done. So, but bully for him for redoubling his efforts, concentrating. He's not letting the border get away from him, so to speak. He's not letting his attention wander. Even though we got all these distracting issues that the Democrats want to distract Republicans from focusing on their goals. And one of the goals is getting a wall on the border and shutting down illegal immigration, along with illegal drugs and people smuggling. Those are the things that the left wants us to lose a focus on and forget about. And damn good that President Trump refuses to do so. He refuses to forget it. He's focused on it, and he's not going to let go of this. He's like a bulldog, and good for him on that one. So that brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill, and until next time, thank you very much for listening. Have a great day.